Okay, recording has started, right? So, good afternoon, everyone, right? Thanks for joining us, during the lunchtime for the meetup, right? So I am Anthony, right? The cloud automation specialist, covering the ASEAN region, right? So I have with me, Derek, right? Derek, you want to give a brief intro of yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So, my name is Derek. Right, I'm from the Singapore team, SA Singapore team itself. Um, so so today, right, we having this community event. It's been a while since we did a community event itself. Um, I think the last time was
About
uh
1.5 years ago, right? I
pre
think for
pre-COVID.
those who join us, we were at the F5 office, right? So I'm not sure whether any one of you over here was with us back then, but that was definitely before COVID, right? So we are trying to restart this just to link up with more people within the community, as well as to give an update on what's going on with Ansible these days.
Yeah. So today, we'll go through a little bit of Ansible and what are the updates. You might heard of these updates, you might not hear it from your end, right? So we will just go through some of these updates just in case you guys have missed it. And then we'll go through one of the use cases, which is Kubernetes CIS with Ansible itself. So during the call itself, if you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat, right? We will get around to it. We'll have a Q&A and a discussion later on if you guys have any questions, right? If not, I think you guys can unmute yourself if you want to speak, right? But if you're not speaking, then just please mute yourself, right?
Yep.
Okay, so with that, I think we can get started.
Yep. I think let's get started, right? So we'll see whether there will be more people joining us, along the way.
Okay, I think my screen has crashed.
Do you want me to share my
Yeah,
screen
you
instead?
share your
Yeah,
screen
sure.
first.
Oh,
Oh,
it
okay.
works? Okay.
Oh, it came back. It came
All
back.
right, good.
Okay, so Ansible, right? We talk about simple, ageless, and extensible itself. Why Ansible? Right. Not sure how many of you guys have used Ansible extensively, right? Ansible itself, we talk about it being very simple, human readable automation format. Later, I'm going to show you a short piece of it. There's no special coding skills that are needed, right? It's very easy to pick up. You don't need to learn C, C++, or even Python, right? And the tasks are executed in order. So these are the things that are quite easy to be used, right? And we talk about it being powerful, right? Automation today is doing the things that you want to alleviate a lot of those manual tasks, right? We want to ensure that you're able to communicate with the different tools that are out there today, right? So Ansible allows you to do a lot of powerful things, right? Link up with a lot of the different third-party tools, as well as do a lot of workflow orchestration with it, right? End-to-end orchestration. Ansible also allows you to communicate with not only 5 or 10 systems, right? Talking about hundreds of endpoints at the end of the day. So it's very powerful. And next we talk about Ageless, right? Ageless architecture, allowing you to not think about, I need to allocate a certain space for for example, to sit on each of these endpoint itself, right? You just need to maintain, right, a one cluster itself to communicate with all of these endpoints. You don't need to allocate a space for all these endpoints. It uses OpenSSH and WinRM, right, as a protocols to communicate with all these endpoints. And it's very easy to get started at the end, right? So on the left is a shell script, right? A typical shell script that does to start the NTPD service, right? And on the right is what Ansible is, right? In terms of on the left, this is a shell script. On the right, Ansible shows that you're able to condense, first of all, what you are writing for example, shell scripts today into in terms of Ansible, right? And as well as it's much more easier to read. So there's a lot of things that you can do, right, using Ansible itself. Communicating with firewalls today, load balancers. You talk about the different storage providers, network devices, and the even down to the application layer itself. And right now, more and more people are using Ansible to maybe manage containers as well. So just various common integrations that we see right out there today, talking about the different network providers, right, as well as ITSMs like ServiceNow, Jira, and we have Cybert for privileged access management, the various cloud providers, right, and then Windows servers as well as the Linux distributions. So there's many integrations that can be done. As long as you have connectivity with those endpoints, right, and you're able to execute the commands over either the protocols or maybe you're using API calls instead, right? So these are things that Ansible can leverage on and use to communicate those integrations itself. So the community is very big, right? As you see today, we are also able to hold a community event. We hope that in future, once we host more of these events, you're able to join us, right? And we are trying to build more and more of in terms of people within the community to know more about Ansible and know more about how automation can really help them in terms of the environment today. Right, Ansible Galaxy is a place where you can access a lot of the community repositories, use cases that people are building up time and time again. We also do see when you search on Google for various use cases, Ansible Galaxy can be a place that you can go to. Sometimes GitHub is also a place where a lot of those Ansible use cases are being placed at as well. So let's dive a bit into what's new. If you guys haven't really heard it yet. So at Red Hat, right, we have the Ansible automation platform itself that is built on top of the Ansible engine layer itself, right? So Ansible Tower is the one that controls the operations and control at scale, allowing you to do things like role-based access control, workflow as well, and managing, for example, secrets and credentials in a more easier manner. And now on top of it, we have a SaaS service, right, that is being provided, which later I'm going to show you briefly. We have the automation hub itself that serves the place to host the Ansible content itself, right, these collections, and also other various SaaS services like service catalog, as well as automation analytics. So one of the things that are new to Ansible Tower today, so I think it's Tower 3.6, right, that allows you to do webhooks, right, that enables GitOps today. So if you are not using any CI tools today like Jenkins, right, you're able to leverage on Tower to do webhooks, to do your GitOps CI with Ansible. Next is the SaaS services that we have right on cloud.red.com. So we have automation analytics that allows you to analyze and via a dashboard, right, allow you to bring health notifications, organizational statistics of, like, for example, how many times I run this certain playbook, how across the many clusters that you have. So that allows you to have a overview, right, of your health, right, and the usage and performance of your overall enterprise itself. And you can also see, which organization is using certain resources more in terms of like the playbook is being run, and if you want to use those playbooks in the other clusters, right? So this is where you can see for yourself, hey, this organization is using this playbook. Maybe we should also use that playbook as well to maybe optimize certain tasks. So on the right, there is a brief view on what the analytics dashboard will be. Later, we'll show you a quick view on what it looks like. So it has very standard stuff like job status graphs, job templates, and even like top modules that are being used as well. Health notifications, right? That allows you to see if, let's say, your cluster is down or not, as well as what the updates that are, if there are any updates that you can view whether there's an update that you need a patch and so on and so forth. Also allows you to even see what are the license count, right? Whether you have reached close to how many nodes that are already left within the environment itself. So this is another view of the automation analytics, talking about how you filter by organizations, job status, jobs being run, as well as the usage by the organization itself. So in terms of what the dashboard comparisons, Ansible Tower gives you, the cluster itself that you're working on, right? What are the recent job templates? And it's only one cluster. Automation Analytics gives you an overview, right, of all the clusters. And you can filter by top modules, top job templates, and filter by cluster itself. Right. And the next feature that we have is the Ansible Content Collections, right? Content Collections allows you to provide a more simplified and consistent content delivery. So today, if you're not using modules, right, you'll be using Content Collections itself to be installed within the Ansible playbook itself. So Content Collections allows you to access certified contents, right, that are being pushed by the different third-party tools that are out there today. Right? It could be for example, Cisco. It could be from NetApp, right? So, so this allows you to filter a lot of the modules that you want to use. Right? Today in Ansible documentation itself or the module list itself, it could be quite a bit messy, right? In terms of the modules, right? There's quite a lot of modules down placed inside that documentation itself. So Content Collections allows you to see in a more easier view and access it easier as well. You're also able to, if you want to within the organization, you can actually write your own collection, right? And then have the ability to distribute and share and consume all these collections much more easier as well. So this is a content collection example, right? Within the playbook itself, you will write the syntax, right, for collections here, right? For example, this collection is a custom collection that maybe I've written, or it could be a collection that is from Red Hat itself. So once you do the Red Hat open ping, so you will look into the collection, right, at open_ping, and then within it, that is where you just need to call the modules that are within the collection itself, and then use it from there. So that is how you will consume the collection itself. So collections, you're able to discover these collections from the Automation Hub itself. Automation Hub can be used via from cloudware.com, right? Or you can actually have Automation Hub locally on premise within your cluster itself. Right, so you can have your own private automation hub, right? It just for example, in case that if you're trying to access it from a more secure place itself, require to access the content from a DMZ, right? You can have the private automation hub in a DMZ and then pull the content from the internet, right, to a DMZ first, and then consume it from there. So another feature that we have, or soft access feature that we have, is a service catalog that allows you to drive a lot of initiatives within your organization. For example, you want to do a customized end-to-end workflow, to have some pre-built automation in place for various users, right? That's where you can publish the automation in the service catalog itself, and then deliver automation from there. So this is just a brief overview of what the service catalog has, right? For example, if I want to have a catalog of products to be ordered, for example, a RHEL 8 VM, for example, right? So I can provision a RHEL 8 VM, right, easily from the service catalog itself. So with that, I'll pass my time to Anthony, right, to show you more on the SaaS service as well as the demo later.
Yep. Hi, everyone.
Derek,
Go ahead.
Yes.
Anthony,
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you go back to a few slides, before? Because some of the guys just, joined.
Okay. Which slides?
Which slide? Yeah. Sorry, Raha, do you have a
specific
slide
slides that you
yeah.
want to look at?
Sorry, you're on mute if you are talking.
Yeah.
Can you go before, a few more slides?
Few more slides.
Yeah, further. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you are trying to talk about accelerate, collaborate, governance, trust, and inform. So this is where you are talking about automation analytics. Is that going to be available on the on-prem Ansible Tower or only SaaS?
At this juncture in time, it's only SaaS, right? But I mean, obviously, we wouldn't rule out in future it may be on-prem, right? You saw that the automation hub is basically, I mean, the architecture that Derek was showing earlier was something that was created because of the need for on-prem, right? So definitely something that it will evolve along the way. It depends on the community whether they wanted to have something on-prem as well.
Yeah. Well, what about the certified content?
Those are part of within the automation hub itself. Maybe I'll show you what's inside the automation hub.
That makes sense. Yeah, even you explain more on the service catalog.
We could show a very quick demo video, right, that our BU has done basically on how it works. But what we know now is that you can basically integrate with ServiceNow as well if you want to, right? So that it can work together. We are looking at how we can value add, right, with this extra SaaS layer that we have. I can just run a very quick one. You can see that basically you can create.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
And then
go ahead. Yeah.
Maybe I'll show my screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Derek, I'll take over the control.
Sure. Go ahead. Thanks.
You guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, so this is basically what we have, right? So basically, this is the cloud.redhat.com, right? So if you were to come in over here, if you have a subscription, right, for Ansible automation platform, you will be able to get to this screen, right? After logging in with your credentials, you can see the stuff that you have access to. So the stuff on analytics, right? If you were to click on this button, this GUI interface is going to have some changes in the near future, but pretty much it's going to be similar to what you see over here, right? So then the whole idea is that you can have multiple clusters, and that if you send it up to the cloud.redhat.com, it will help you to collect the statistics across your different clusters, right? Then you get information such as the job status, right? So you can see over here on, for instance, information like the job top template, the top modules that you're using, right? If you were to click on this, it will tell you what are the clusters that actually is being worked upon, or where is it being executed, right? So time taken and whatnot, right? So these are the information. You can get things like the organizational statistics. It will break down based on the jobs that is being executed by each organization, right? And what are the tasks as well, right? Some drop downs that you can get. Then things like the job explorer, right? So what are the things that were successful and what are the things that did not work based on the last 30 days or 62 days, right? Depending on how you go. And this is a drop down. You can see obviously that you can have many more entries that's being shown over here. Let's see if we were to click here. It tries to go to the instance whereby this thing is being executed. So I have an account that is basically belonging to our business unit. So you can see a lot of different jobs being run, right? So these are on Amazon Web Service, for instance. Then the notifications wise, right? It's going to tell you, for instance, like if you're running 3.6, right, you will reach end of life in 39 days. So it kind of gives you an idea on where your cluster is, right? Whether or not something needs attention, right? And whether or not, let's say you have bought, let's say 200 subs, subs for 200 nodes, and that you are reaching 200, then it will give you some information on that as well, right? So then these are information that you can see over here, right, with time, right? So then let me just make these things smaller. Sorry. Yep. Sorry for that, because the screen jumped over. So then there is another thing that may or may not be, of interest to the technical guys, but for the management team, right, they are usually concerned about things like, okay, how many hours I'm saving, right, when I do automation. So this is a tool that's done in conjunction with IDC, so that it is something that's neutral, right? So if you look at it, you can kind of key in the numbers over here, and that you can kind of get your ROI, right? So we call that the ROI calculator to calculate your automation savings. Then the stuff that we were talking about, right, when it comes to the automation hub, is really the collections, right, that we are kind of interested in. So these are things which are certified by our partners, right? If you were to look at it, you have the big names, right? You see your Cisco, iOS, your Dynatrace, the Google Cloud. If you were to extend more, you can see all the entries are over here. And this list is growing by the day, right? So whenever we get the commitment from our partners to certify the modules that they are writing or they have written in Python or Ansible, right? Ansible modules, it will all be shown up over here. So if anything goes wrong, let's say with the Azure module, then you can always come to Red Hat and we will help you with that, right? So this is CyberArk Conjure, right, for containers, right? So you have Nginx, you have things like Checkpoint, the IBM QRadar for SIM, for people who are not very familiar, right? So these days, Ansible has branched into security automation as well, more towards the analyst, security analyst kind of role, whereby we have SIM, we have the IDS, IPS, and the Checkpoint and other firewalls, right? So these are all things which are kind of the VMware REST, right? So this is something recent, right? We actually have a new collections, right, that is backed by Red Hat, right, that will actually be able to interact with vCenter in a certified fashion. In the past, we used to run the community VMware modules, but over here this time around, it has been repackaged, right? We are saying that we will take care of all these things. The ones which probably is more recent, right, is this thing for the Kubernetes collections, which we wanted to show in a very short demo later on the stuff that we are doing as well in the containers world, right? It's not just the usual things that we have been talking about all this while with the the VMs, the bare metal. We also look at this Kubernetes stuff, right? So if you were to click on this, which I opened up earlier, right? Sorry, you can see that this is the Kubernetes collection for Ansible, right? You have a lot of different things inside here, like the KS, the auth, right? These are things that you will do, the Helm, right? The Helm charts and whatnot that can be done, right? And it shows you information on how you can basically use this. So as some of you may know, right? Starting from Ansible, I mean Ansible 3 is coming out. Just in case you are not aware, right? So we will be moving towards collections, right? So from Ansible 2.9 onwards, you can kind of use collections, but moving forward, we are really going to move full force into this particular area. There's some differences. You can see over here that we do kubernetes.core.kas. So it's kind of using that namespace way of doing the naming convention so that we can call, for instance, the KS module in this case to make sure that the namespace is present. So quite a lot of things that is being compiled and shown inside this particular automation hub. And as shown by Derek earlier, we have an on-prem version, right? So you can actually have this thing on-prem as well, right? Then you'll be able to consume the content. So in future, this is going to be a bit similar to your Git repository, right? You can actually put things inside. This is like your own Galaxy, right? But on-prem, right? So you have an on-prem Galaxy. You guys probably aware as well on the Ansible Galaxy, right? So if you have been using Ansible for a while, this thing is there, right? You will have something like this inside your collections, the automation hub, whereby you can keep all this different content there. You can version control and you can pull direct from the hub. Obviously, you can continue to do so with Git, right? In let's say GitLab or GitHub, it's fine, right? But this is also another way that we are looking to help you with the content management, right? So those are things that can happen, right? So the partner ecosystem that we have is pretty huge as well. So different names that you will see over here, right? The CyberArk, Google Cloud, Fortinet, IBM, and NVIDIA, whatever, right? Then the other stuff that we were talking about earlier is the service catalog, right? So I do have a very simple video, right, that just shows you how it looks like. It's similar to the stuff that we show in the screenshot earlier, right? Because this thing requires connection back to a node that is already set up properly, and I just wanted to show you very quickly since we only have an hour, right? So I'll play the video instead. Right, so you can see over here that the catalog products, you can, if it is configured properly, it can be many different things, right? The main idea that we wanted to do is similar to how you are doing, let's say in ServiceNow, right? You have service catalog, but obviously we're not trying to say that we will just replace. We can actually integrate and work together, right? So you can have different products, platforms, right, whereby we will run and you can select the stuff that you wanted to do, and then just put an order and it will trigger the tower that is connected to perform an action, right, from the cloud.redhat.com. So different things, right? The portfolios can be created, right, using RBAC, or you can do things like in this case we are showing a Windows Server 2019, right? Different platforms like PaaS services, you can also create all the portfolios, right? So for instance, like you want to create a MariaDB, right? You can select from here and it will help you to create using the playbooks that you have defined within the environment. So let's say we wanted to do something simple, right? We want to do a RHEL 8, right? So the deployment type, let's say if you select a container, right? And then you can do things like how many CPU, memory, and this thing will go through as an order that you see over there. Right, so then the order page is going to show the current status of the order, right? It's pending approval or that it is completed or running, right? Those kind of stuff, right? So you can see that the status over here is ordered, right? Then it shows the approval, right? It's in this case we did the auto approved, so it just got approved, right? Then it's just going to run through the whole thing. So pretty much this is how this thing does it, right? So we have that integration right now. Analytics, service catalog, they are SaaS based, right? But that definitely we don't rule out the possibilities that they will become on-prem, just like what Automation Hub has become because of requests coming from the field and coming from the community, right? So any questions around this before we go on to the next topic, whereby we are just going to go through how we can use Ansible for the Kubernetes CIS compliance. Okay. All right. So very quickly, right? I'm just going to show you what we have. So this is my Git repository, right? So what we are doing over here is that I'm pulling, right? Back then, right? That was a few months ago, right? I was basically using the Kubernetes collections, right? You just have to point it to the source. Back then it was version 1.0.0, right? So you can pin to whatever versions that you want. You defined within the requirements YAML, right? Then what can happen after that, right? Is that we will create the task that we wanted to do. So over here, I am actually not going to reinvent the wheel, right? We know that we already have a lot of good stuff being done, for instance, by Aqua security. They have what we call as a kube-bench, right? So it's written in Go. Basically, what it does is that it can actually go and spin up a container, right? As a job, it will just go and scan the particular stuff that you're working on, right? Then after which it will return you a report, right, on how good or bad this thing, what are the things that pass or fail, right? Then from here, you can see over here that what are the Kubernetes version that it is actually supporting, right? So we see over here that there is a GKE, EKS, the common ones, right? The Kubernetes 1.5, and these are the benchmark that we are doing. So today, I think we are at 1.20, right? I see that seems to be the latest. So these are the versions, right, that's available at this junction in time. It gives you some instructions on how you can install, how you can bring up the containers, right, so that it runs that job against your environment. So what I'm doing over here is basically using the instructions, right? We are creating the playbooks, right, that will help you to perform this particular task, right, in an automated fashion. Right, so then I'm just getting the user to key in the information that's required. What are the target nodes? In this case, depending on whether it's a master or you're running on a worker or you're doing on everything, right? And then if it is EKS, we are passing in parameters saying that, well, this benchmark is for EKS or this benchmark is for GKE, right? And then I'm just cleaning up some of the environment information before I ran the generation of the template. So pretty straightforward, right? So this thing is already given to us by Aqua Security, right, as part of the kube-bench. All that we are doing is that I'm kind of updating the command that I want to run. The containers will be the same. It's just that the commands that we are running to run that particular scan will be a bit different, right? So this thing, we will use the Ginger 2 template to generate, right, the template, and then we will send it over as to what the job is supposed to do. You can see over here that this is basically a definition, right, for the job kind, right? The metadata that we are passing in, we are running it on the namespace for KS CIS compliance, right? And we're doing a couple of stuff over here, right? Then you can see that what I'm doing is to create that and create a namespace, right? Make sure that it is available, right? So you can see I'm using KS module, for instance, right? Then I'm also using KS info, right, to make sure that this thing is actually up and running properly, right? Then pulling out the logs, right, was something that I tried to show people, right, how we can actually make use of collections, right? In this case, this particular KS log function, it's part of the Kubernetes collections um, that we have right up in the Galaxy, right? So then what we do is that I'm just basically giving it a reference, just like what we showed earlier, right? Then we can pass in the name of the pod resource that we are trying to check, right? Then we pull out the logs, and then we are updating the results by creating a file, right, before the content, and then we are sending out the emails, in this case to myself, right? So nothing special over here. We are doing all these things, and that basically we are just reusing some of the good stuff that Aqua Security has already done in the past. So I am going to show you what it looks like, right, when you run it in your own environment. So I have used kube-ADM, right, to create a all-in-one environment, right, because we wanted to show that, you know, we are doing for the community, right? So we wanted to show something that's more generic, right? Red Hat, of course, we have our OpenShift container platform, right? But over here, we are just showing the kube-ADM way of setting up and, you know, just running to make sure that Ansible will work also for the vanilla Kubernetes, right? And that it works, of course, for OCP, right, which is our container platform for Red Hat. So CentOS 7, again, because of community, right, we try to show all these things. So if you were to run this, you can see that what do I have over here, right? I have the node, right? It's running on 1.19, right? Then we have different stuff that is being set up over on this all-in-one node, right? So let me just fast forward a bit. You can do a get port. You can see over here that I have a core DNS, XCD, and then the API server proxy scheduler running. I wanted to just show you the network, right? We are running Calico over here for the SDN, right? Then let's just look at what are the other stuff that we have. The namespace, we saw earlier that we have a pre-described namespace that we are looking for that at this juncture in time is not created. Ansible is going to help you to make sure that the namespace is created over here, right? So the next step that we will do, right, after checking to make sure the environment is up and running properly, right, is to basically go on to tower, yeah. So this is Ansible Tower, right? So I'm inside as a security engineer, right? So we have all the role-based control stuff over here. There are only certain things that me as a security engineer can see, right? So projects, we can see that I have a couple of things and job templates that I can run, right? So today I'm going to run the CIS compliance check, right, for the Kubernetes environment that I have, right? So if you were to look at the project, I'm pointing to the Git repository that I have, right? Again, we are making sure that we are doing things like Git pull, right? Make sure that the playbooks are updated, right, before we run the particular job, right? So that's what we have. If you were to look at my inbox is empty, right? So I'm waiting for Ansible to send me the report after everything is done. So just wanted to show that it's clean at this juncture in time. Right, so then we go back to the dashboard. So we can specify a few endpoints, right? Just like what kube-bench has, right? So I am just going to, because it's all-in-one, I'm just going to do an all-in-one, right? In this case, just going to select all, right? So a couple of things, right? Master, worker, or EKS, GKE, right? Standard stuff. And then we do a next. The namespace we define as well, right? So in this case, I wanted to create this particular namespace. You can obviously decide what is the name of the namespace that that we wanted to do. So when it runs through, it will just do a pull on the playbooks right before it starts running the whole thing, right? Then over here you can see. Let me just get it faster.
Ramesh,
Yeah,
here, right now we have master only, right?
correct. This is all-in-one. So it's basically we remove the taint right on this guy so that you can also schedule pods to run on it. But obviously in production you should have 3 masters at least, right, for redundant purpose.
So right now we are going to do CIS benchmark test for the master, right? Okay.
Correct. I mean it's an all-in-one that I built, so it acts as both. That's why I selected all. But yeah, you're right. It's basically essentially just the master whereby you can also schedule pods to run on them.
Understand. Thanks.
Yep. So it will just run, right? Then it does a generation of the template. It keeps on waiting in the background, right? Checking whether or not the job has been created and is it still running, right? So in this case, we are deploying, right, the kube-bench pod. So we're waiting for the job to become inactive, right? Because it's currently running. You will see 0/1 when we do the watch later on, right? So the namespace got created, right? That's what we did with Ansible, right? So you can see over here that you have a kube-bench pod running, right? If you were to look at the job that is running. So this particular job is running, right? So it will take a while, right, to finish. So basically, we are checking using API just to see, whether this thing is done or it's not done. So it just keep on running for a while. Then we kind of set a timeout, right? So just like any other job that we have, we are just waiting, right? So we can run it, wait it. I will just fast forward a bit. So you can see over here that it just keeps on running. It took like about 2 minutes, I guess. Sorry, let me just stop here. Yeah. So it took about more than 2 minutes, right, for this thing to finish the whole scan. So when the job is done, you can see that it actually throws out all the results. The next thing that we do is what we showed in the playbook earlier is to get the information, right, from the logs of that particular pod that was running this task, right? So then we kind of output all those things into a file whereby we will then send over to ourselves. Right, so that's kind of how the whole flow looks like. So you can see that we're updating the results, and then after that, we are just sending us the email, and we'll clean up the traces after that, like we remove the files and the logs. So you can see over here that what you have, right, is the scan on this particular node, right, that I have, right, built using kubeadm, right. So the master node, right? You can see that these are the configurations over here. Right, so not much different, right, from how this thing is running. And the report will basically also show you what are the things that you need to do in order to fix it. And obviously all these things are stuff that we are just using what has already been created and tested and validated by Aqua security. We just wanted to show the integration and how things can actually be done over here. So that's kind of what we wanted to show here, right? Any questions that you guys might have, right? So I guess I kind of have at the Q&A, right? I know there was questions on Terraform and whatnot. Did we manage to answer that question? Iraq, right? I think. Or that you need us to kind of talk about it, because these days we do see a lot of this kind of integrations going on. Yep.
Yeah, guys, feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions, or you guys want to talk about any other things regarding Ansible itself.
Yeah, feel free, right? Because this is a community event. We are here just to see how we can discuss on certain things, and maybe there is another perspective for doing stuff. Just we can always talk about it.
Ramesh here, and I joined a little bit late, and I understand the demo, and basically wanted to understand, so that there are some features covered, 3 points, right? I just want to understand what is difference between the old and new.
The old and new. You're talking about the current Ansible automation platform, right?
Yeah.
Right. So no worries. I know some of you joined late, right? So let me just flash the slide that Derek was showing earlier. So you can see that for a long time, right? We have Tower, right? We have Engine. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of Ansible Tower.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. This has been around for a while, right? So the upstream is AWX, right? So the stuff that has been added is this particular SaaS layer, which I think I was trying to go through the cloud.redhat.com earlier on, right? On what are the stuff that we actually have. You can see over here that there is the content collections, right? And we talk about certified content. So we started this thing maybe 1 or 2 years back, right? Whereby we were talking to all the different partners. We understand from a lot of customers that not just the modules, right, that is important to them, but also how safe it is to use all these modules, right? So that is also very important to a lot of enterprise customers that we are talking to these days. So ultimately, what is going on is that how can you ensure that something that you're using is proved to be good, certified by, for instance, Cisco, by Google, right, to make sure that everything is working properly. So then this particular thing is what we call as certified content. Is where we have come from that angle, and then we move it into collections. Collections is a bit different from the roles that you guys are probably familiar with. It will basically remove that. Okay, maybe I have a diagram for that, right? So let me see if I can show that diagram. I just wanted to show you the difference these days with collections. It's taking a while to load. So as a lot of you might remember or recall, right, in the past, it takes a while, right, for the one version to go to the next, right? For instance, let's say if you go from 2.5 Ansible to 2.6, it can be 3 to 4 months. So what was going on is that the content inside, so let's say if I have Palo Alto, I have AWS module that's inside, it will have to be you will have to wait, right, until the engine is upgraded to the next version before all these bug fixes and everything can go in. So it means that at this whole junction, the whole time frame in time, right, you will basically be using something that has bugs and that you will have problems trying to patch it, because that whole package that comes in will actually contain all these things that basically will take a while before it can be updated, right? So what we are saying is that with collections, right, from 2.9 onwards, what is going on is we put all these things outside. In the future, right, you will see that the Ansible core itself will be much smaller. Perhaps it will just be 200 or 300 core components, core modules inside. Those are from Red Hat. Everything else, let's say from Palo Alto, from AWS, from Fortinet, from CyberArk, from F5, I mean all the different partners, it will be packaged as what we call as collections. So then the collections will be outside. They have their GitHub repository, their own QA, right? The quality assurance and everything is done by the end vendors themselves. And that through the certified content, it will be part of the whole ecosystem, right? So whatever things that will come eventually will then get certified. And if there's any bugs, they will fix it at a much faster pace. And then we just install as part of collections. So that's kind of the change that the whole community is going towards, and that this thing has been in works in being done for 1 to 2 years time, and finally it was decided that this is going to be the path moving forward. It's partly also because Ansible has grown very big, right? So if you look at it at 2.9, we have more than 4,000 different modules. At the rate that this is going and becoming super big, it's very difficult to ensure that all the modules that we have, right, is free of bugs. And that if you want to wait for everyone to go and fix the bugs, everyone may do it at different time of the year, and all these things are going to cause problems down the road. So that's why we are trying to move down this particular way of doing things, which is what we call as collections, that will include your roles. It will also include the binaries that's needed for you to run your modules. So all those are written in Python, right? So those are the things, and obviously the other stuff that we have, right, is the demo video that I showed earlier for the service catalog, right? You can trigger it, just like if you need a RHEL 8, you can select the catalog and you will trigger Tower to run and create. Then you have the hub, which keeps all the content, right? The analytics piece is basically to give you a statistics on what is going on within your environment. What are the top modules, the top playbooks that's being executed these days, whether or not there's problems with your clusters, the health status is not good, or that what are the things that you need to be looking out for. So those are things that is going on these days, and that this is basically the new portion, right, for the Ansible automation platform that you will see, which is different from what you have always been seeing so far, right? This is the SaaS layer, and that we have an on-prem version for the automation hub as well, which is like your own private Ansible Galaxy that you can use. Yep. I know it's a long answer. I hope I kind of covered the points.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Any other questions from anyone? I mean, we hope to hold more regular sessions, right? Now that the COVID situation is kind of under control in Singapore, we are obviously it will be good if everyone can come out and meet, but we still have that 8 people limitations these days, right? So virtual is probably a good way to reach all of you guys at the same time, right? So we will run this more frequently, right? We will try to think of what are the new content that we want to talk about after this, right? We will, we're recording the Google Meet for this presentation and discussions that we had, right? So we can just share it later on as well. Yep. So you haven't called. Sorry, I see a question. Yeah, collections is actually something new, right? So if you want to look at it, you can actually search Ansible Collections, right? So they actually show you how it can be done. It package quite a lot of stuff inside, right? So one of those things that that we were showing earlier. Right. So for instance, right, you can see that where you're uploaded in the Galaxy, right, you can be a on-prem automation hub, right? Then what are the plugins, right? It's also here, and the roles that you're using. So you can see it as one level higher, right, than row, because it contains also the modules and the plugins and those things. It's a new way of doing things. So I think if you're working on Ansible, it's good to start looking at it, because this is going to be the default way of doing things moving forward, right? Things are changing quite a fair bit. Even for Ansible Tower, right, the architecture is changing, right? So we are going to decouple the control and the data plane, right? Quite a lot of things coming, right? We even for things like isolated nodes, which I'm not sure whether you guys are familiar with, but that's also going to move away, and we will have what we call as the execution environment, right? It will be spun up as pods, right? And things are moving, right? So we'll try to host more, right, of these sessions in future, just to update you on some other areas that you guys may be interested in, right? Especially the new things that is up and coming, right? This session is just something that we are hosting after a while. We thought of just reconnecting with everyone, right, and try to see what are the questions, if any, right, from the few, right?
Yeah, I guess we're here to kickstart back the community within Singapore itself, and then moving up to Ansible Fest, right, as the main event that is going to push all the updates to you guys. We will try to host as many of these community events to update you guys along the way, especially when there are more new stuff coming up. Yeah.
Yep. So I guess we're at time, right? It's 1 p.m. Singapore time. So I know it's lunchtime as well. Okay. Any more questions? If not, we will see you in the next one. Hopefully in a couple of weeks, right? We will have another one. All right.
Okay, I think we're good. Thank you guys
for
coming. Yeah.
coming. See you guys.